How's it going? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Thursday and we're sewing the Lucerne blouse. How are you guys? How you doing? Hi Megan. How's it going? I am ready. Hi Barbara. How's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Sarah. This is Sew Live, where we sew together, cut things together, fit, pattern drafting. What haven't we done? We haven't done any draping. I don't think I'll ever do any draping. I don't have a proper dress. Well, I have a proper dress form, but I don't approve of the size of it. It's a little too small. So, this might be a pretty straightforward sew. I added the waist tie to mimic the sleeve ties, but... Oh, does he love it, Megan? Which one did he get? Did he get Battle for Neighborville? Oh, good, Barbara. What's your good advice? Did you have someone pin those for you, or how did you do that? Because those are so full. They didn't take as long to hem as I thought. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Malin. He got, oh, okay, cool, Megan. The non-multiplayer of Battle for Neighborville is really good. It's really fun. There's 3 areas unlocked right now, and there's a 4th coming. So 2 for the plants and 1 for the zombies so far. And they're really fun. It's really cute. It's a fun game. The multiplayer is... it's fine for me. My friends really don't like it because they're not doing very well in it, and they're usually at the top. And it's because, you know, they're used to being there because they've played it for years, the Garden Warfare too. So, yeah, it's a cute game. It's fun. I mean, the puns and the things, the customizations. Hi, Karen. How's it going? I see you on Twitch there. Thanks for joining. So yeah, we're making the Lucerne blouse, and there are 2 sleeve options. Hi, Sophia. How's it going? I love those. I love when you guys are on Twitch. It's so cute. I don't mean that in like a patronizing way, but I love Twitch, you know. I heard it changed today too. I don't really notice much except for the fact that the button to hide the chat and to display the chat is actually now something you can see. Oh, okay, Barbara. Yeah. Yeah, pinning that would be hard. I've done some hems for people where it's like, you know, you have to stand there on a table and rotate, you know, and they pin it parallel to the floor. So you're making me think I should probably check mine to see if they've dipped, you know, where the bias is. And I bet they have. It's rayon. So I honestly don't notice it when I'm wearing it. They're so fun to wear, Barbara. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Megan. It's like, that was always a pet peeve for me, that little like hide the chat and show the chat arrow was so hard to see, especially if you have the window kind of smaller, not big. You can't even, there isn't one. Yeah, it has to be a certain size for it to appear. And right now I have it pretty small and I can see it, and it's not over the subscription button or the follow button. So it always kind of blended in because it was transparent. Oh, okay, Barbara. Hi, Eliza. You're driving? Drive safe. So yeah, this blouse. So if you have a woven fabric that's kind of drapey, I think it would be great for this. And you don't have to do a button placket. It's not knits. I mean, there's some really great advantages. Plus, you can make this look really casual or kind of classy. I mean, it's similar in the way of the Scout in that it's a pullover woven top, but I do feel like the styling is quite a bit different. It comes in a scoop or a V-neck, and then the 2 sleeve options are petal sleeve and the tie sleeve. The petal sleeve honestly would probably look better on me because it's a little slimmer of a sleeve because there's not the bulk of the tie, and I tend to have broad, straight shoulders. Hi, Polly. But I like the tie. I like the delicateness of it. Hi, Eileen. Right? Exactly. And good morning. Good afternoon, good evening to all the lurkers too. You are welcome here. You don't have to chat and chat. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. It's going to be a rough one. Maybe I should just sew. I added this waist tie because I like interest at the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, I like interest in the back of a garment and on the bottom. Hi, Ray. Oh, awesome. It's hard on a weekday, I know, for people to join. So I understand that. 19. You keep an account. I don't even look anymore. Yes, I only added the bottom band, Karen. Just the bottom band. And I'm thinking it'll be on my left side. So that's how I drew it. Let's hope I actually think that way when I'm sewing it, because maybe on the other side. I don't think there's a, I think, I feel like this would be the traditional place to put it. You could even put one on both sides, but that's just a little too much for me. I just really like the idea of being able to kind of like, not make it just loose and flowy. It kind of gives you more of an hourglass if you want, especially if you aren't an hourglass and you kind of want to give that illusion. Not that it's the proper illusion to have, I'm just saying, it's, if you want to have a more distinct waist, the bottom band can help. And that's what I'm kind of going for. So, anywho, so the only thing I did was draft a band pattern, and I shortened my shirt by a little bit and straightened it. I just straightened it straight across. And I haven't really figured out how much it's going to gather into the band. I'll figure that out when we get there. So, because I do kind of want to gather it a little bit into the band if there's excess, So I probably need to figure that out. But I did decide to cut interfacing for my ties, and the one thing I do want to do is I want the interfacing to kind of stop. Here's the sleeve. This is the sleeve folded in half, and there's a slit right here. And this is where the ties come off, and then you would tie it, right? So here's my interfacing. I don't really need to look at my other piece. I'm just going to trim the interfacing so that it doesn't go all the way to the tips of the ties so that it still drapes. That way, maybe I won't have to iron the bands so much. It's an experiment, I don't mind experimenting on my garments, and we can all learn together if it worked or not. A few of my experiments have been so great that I've kind of incorporated them, like interfacing the hem of those linen bow tops. That was awesome. I never have to iron that. I can almost pull that out of the dryer. So I feel like that was a good one. I don't normally interface hems, but that really helped, because you know how linen kind of crumples right there? I hate that. So it needs ironing, and then by the course of, even if you iron it, halfway through the day, it would need it again. But that interfacing the hem just prevents it. So thanks for following. I can't see your name. And my thing is so small. I'm really sorry. I wish I could make it bigger, but I have so many windows open. All right, so this is what I plan to do. The tie is cut on the fold, and this is the straight edge, so that would be the fold. This is the edge that gets sewn to the sleeve like this. The fold, and I folded it in half this way. I'm lining it up with about that seam right there, the underarm seam. This is the edge I would sew it on, this shaped edge right here. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but I'm going to go to about right there to the seam allowance of this slit right here. And I'm just going to cut it off. Oh my gosh, well that's quite the username. That was a lot of letters, and maybe it's good I didn't say it out loud. Can I explain what Patreon is? Patreon is, it's a way to support artists, makers, any kind of people that generate content of some sort by being able to do it in a subscription type of format. And a lot of them will have different levels of their Patreon, like I do. I think I have 3 or 4. And it just means that you like what that person's doing and you want them to continue to do it. Sometimes the different tiers will also offer you rewards. I don't have any rewards set up right now. I just have different tiers because my stream is free. That is basically the primary reward. But I do plan on offering the Patreon subscribers videos. Everybody, I wish I could give them to everybody that gives me money, but I can't steal your email address from your donations and then put them into that. Plus they have a way to be like, oh, here you go, you can generate content for these people, and it specifically only shows to them. But there's other things too. People will send out their hand-drawn comic books to their Patreon subscribers, whatever. You know what I mean? Kind of like Kickstarter, but you're already funding the person. Yeah, exactly, Megan. So, and then the money from that, for me, I use it towards the stream. It's basically, I have an overhead of my office, equipment, maintenance, the projects. And the other way, if you don't want to give me money, you guys, you can always encourage a pattern company, or if you know a pattern company or you know a fabric store that's like, hey, we need more samples for the shop. We can't sew them fast enough. You know, it is a website, and it's called Patreon. So there's an E after the R. So Patreon. And you can check it out. Like, you can just kind of poke around on there, Sandy, and see all the different people you can support. And then you're their patron. There's some amazing people on there. There's like a lot, there's even famous people or people who've gotten famous because Patreon kind of helped them kind of continue their work, like comedians and people like that. People who do podcasts are on there. Love to Sew is on there. The Love to Sew podcast is on there. I don't know. There's a lot of different kinds of content creators. And they're not all content creators. Yeah. Streaming is called content creator. I'm a content creator, right? Yeah, lots of YouTube folks do it because it's a safe way for you to give someone money. My only issue right now with Patreon is that I can't figure out a way for people to just donate once and not do the subscription thing. And I thought that that was an option. So I'm still trying to figure it out because I haven't found anything. I thought that's what it said you could do, and that's kind of why I went that way. But you can through Streamlabs. So that's another way to do it. Like, if you just want to give someone money once and you're like, I don't want to do the subscription thing. I don't want to be on the hook for that, you know? All right, here, let me trim this one here. This way my ties will be kind of drapey still, you know? And I just thought of this when I was cutting my interfacing. I was like, you know, the interfacing is not required and it's a little overkill. So that's why I'm just going to kind of do the interfacing just around the sleeve band, and it's going to stop right at that slit. And then that way the ties will be loose. All right, so I need to iron those. And then here's my band around my waist. I have interfacing for it as well. And I am going to add in this piece because remember, I didn't have enough fabric. So the band I cut, I think, what did I end up doing, you guys? I think I wanted, you just have to cancel the sub at the end of every month. Yeah, but you know, but people might feel uncomfortable with that. I would, you know. I mean, Twitch is great. Twitch is kind of the exact same thing, actually. But you can't give people rewards. The only thing you can really offer as a Twitch streamer, I think, is like emotes and things like that, which it's not like you can take that home with you, you know. I know the fabric is so great. I wish I will tell you guys, it's a little like, I don't want to say dingy looking, but that's kind of the cast it has now because it got faded on a little bit. So if you buy this in real life, you're going to be like, oh, it's even better, you know. All right, so I'm going to cut my tie in half right here and add in this little piece. This is not desired, but you know what? It happens. I didn't have enough fabric, and I do want this extra length. So let's see. I cut my tie. I didn't cut it so that the length would be able to give me a bow. It's just going to give me a little knot, I'm hoping. So we have 18. So about 62 inches. I cut mine. My hip is 40, 41 or something like that. So what I did was I just held up a tape measure. So if you're wanting to do some sort of tie, the tricky thing with adding anything that is a tie or a bow on it, that the tie, the little bow and the tie adds so much more yardage than you realize. Like if you measure the bow, just the knot and the bow part and the part that hangs off, it's a lot. I remember like doing like small ones and it added 12 inches. It doesn't sound like a lot until you're like 12 inches of fabric, you know. That's quite a bit. So, all right, so I'm just gonna sew this and then I'm gonna press it open. I'm gonna press the heck out of it so it's nice and flat. And then when I put my interfacing on it, this will be almost invisible once it's all sewn. Let's see, where's my other piece here? All right. I like to do the like prep, like it's always exciting when you start a new project, right? You just want to get right to the sewing. I can't remember, Megan. It's either Hearts Fabric or Stone Mountain & Daughter. I'm sorry, you guys. I meant to look it up. It might be Stone Mountain & Daughter when I thought it was Hearts. Hi, Claire. Aw, thanks. That's nice. That's really nice of you. Thanks. What a beautiful name, too. All right, let me press this. I'm going to press the interfacing on my sleeves. And then, yeah, you know, I could figure this out right here. Let's figure this one out, too. Let's get these ready. I really like to prep all this kind of stuff first so that you can just start sewing, you know? You don't have to pause. In the middle, you have a nice flow. Don't lose your spot. Okay, the front and the back are roughly the same width. I think they are the same width. Let's do it with the interfacing. And it does have a little bit of fullness. So the hem here roughly is 48 with the seam allowance. So it's 46, I think, then. So then I just need it to be, like I said, I want it to blouse a little bit. Total experiment, you know. So basically, I want it to be a little less than this, like maybe, oof, it's gonna be a short tie, isn't it? My dress has gotten so small, you guys. All right, so we're gonna cut this much off. All right, let's iron it. We have some little pieces of interfacing now. Hi Lisa, how's it going? I'm just prepping some pieces right now, adding some interfacing, so then we're ready to go. I feel like this blouse is so fall. The colors are so fall. Without being like so stereotypical, you know? I might shape the ties on the waist like the sleeves are. Oh my gosh, please stop. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to find the center. Because remember, I need to center my interfacing. I'm only interfacing half. So this is going to be the side that shows out, the top half. Oops. So I'm going to line up my interfacing here to the center. I could have marked that better. And I'm going to flip it over actually. There we go. Like this. We'll get it going right here. Anyone know why you're supposed to turn the steam off when you iron interfacing? Because I actually don't. I've always wondered. Ooh, Megan, I love those colors together. I love mustard too. I always gravitate towards that color. I tried for a long time to get it in chicken boots line, but I don't know why, it didn't really ever work out. What are you cross-stitching, Lisa? I have friends who actually own a cross-stitch company, cross-stitch designs. They live around here. They're called the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. They make really cute things, like with eyeballs, you know. They love eyeballs. Right? Really, Milan? Huh. Yeah, I've never had any adverse reactions to using the steam, and a lot of times I forget. In general, I turn it off because my hands get a little too close, and it's so easy to get a steam burn. My iron's definitely showing wear now. The steam will pull, like, jet out right here, and it didn't used to do that. My one at home's doing the exact same thing. Hi, Quilter, how's it going? You keep the steam on as well? Okay, I'm not violating some rule. Oh, it's ready to sew patterns, Megan or Claire? Oh, you're doing a little Halloween piece. Yeah, I know, Quilter. They are really big. Yeah, they live around here. Someone, I don't know if you guys know who Jimmy Bean's Wool is, but Jimmy Bean's Wool, the owner, Laura Zander, and I are friends, and she connected me to them. She tagged me. She was like, Sarah, did you know that these people are in your area and you guys would really like each other? And so we met, and they're tons of fun. All right, so there's my tie. It'll be like this, and it'll still have the drape and the looseness right here. Hopefully the tie is gonna be a little longer than that, though. It's okay a little bit if my tie goes past that. But this is, you know, that's gonna be on my side seam right here. That's not so bad, right? If I could have pattern matched, I would, but I didn't have the fabric for that, so. Not bad, not bad. You're gonna go printer shopping. All right, same thing. I think the birds being up is the outer top, like this. There's no interfacing called for in the pattern. This is just my own little thing. It's just a way to prevent the wrinkles, I think. I'm hoping. That's awesome, Claire. Boy, you're really connected. It's really cool. I have heard of Ready to Sew. Yeah, Jimmy Beans, they're nice people. Laura's really nice. She was really helpful in me growing chicken boots the way I did early on. She had me, oh, I did not really figure out if that was the center, did I? She, mommy. Oh, look at that. I was way off on the center of that. I met her at my very first Stitches West, and she just doesn't have any, like, I don't know, she doesn't have barriers. I love it. Like, she's not like, oh, I'm really popular and you shouldn't talk to me at all. You know, she's really approachable, really supportive. And she had a book coming out to raise awareness for heart disease. She had a knitting one and she had a sewing one, and she invited me to be a contributor to the sewing one. It's the only book I've ever been in, and it was really fun. I keep losing my fold, sorry guys. I did a jewelry case, a travel jewelry case. And then she bought stuff from me wholesale too, and they always bought from me. They were really nice. Yeah, right, Ray? I think it'll be a good combo as well. Yeah, they really do a quilter. They're really supportive. If you're a small company and you're really trying to get the experience of working wholesale and get a little bit of coverage, they're pretty approachable. I totally recommend it because they're looking for anything new. They need new stuff too, especially if you do custom. So for years, I did custom stuff for them, like subscription box stuff. Any of their astrology stuff, and they did Madeline Tosh kits, and oh my gosh, they did so many things. I remember because they would tell me the theme too late in the year, but we would pull it off, and then me and Rayanne, we would pick out fabrics for every single month of the year and figure it all out, the yardage, and you know, each thing took 3 fabrics, and the astrology one almost killed me. I don't know much about that, and finding 36 fabrics that people would want was tough. I was like, okay. All right, so let's get sewing. Here's my tie, right? These are my sleeves. All right, sleeves. Put the sleeves in the sleeve pile. What is these? Is this the body? All right. All right, first things first, we always do the shoulders first. Yeah, they also have a rewards program people really love. They're not too far from me. They're in Reno, Nevada. So that's not too far, actually. All right, so I'm going to do French seams. I like the weight of this rayon. My machine, I don't really feel like my machine is giving the nicest looking sewing, though, on rayon lately. Have you guys noticed that? Maybe you can't see that kind of detail. But, I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know. That stitch looks really good though, so maybe it's just me in certain spots. You know, maybe it's when I'm going a little too fast. Like the vent, the stitching on the vent of the Kielo. I ended up touching that up a little bit after I was finished with you guys before I sent it off to Hearts, because I was like, this doesn't look very good. And, you know, part of it's black thread. Black thread, man. Anytime you're doing a contrast thread. It wasn't even contrast, but you know what I mean. All right. I'm going to do all 4 of these seams at once. Why not? Right? Maximize our time. So I'm going to do my side seams, except I kind of need to figure out, this is my left side here. I kind of need to figure out my slit. And I feel like I don't want it too tall. I'm going to do like 3 inches. I'm going to do 3 inches. I don't think I'm going to have the weird issue of figuring out how to transition between the French seam and the bottom, because I at least have the bias to fall back on to finish it, you know? So that'll be good. So remember, I chopped my blouse off a little bit. It didn't end up being very much because I wanted to add some blousing. I didn't make it exactly the length I want it to be done at. I made it a little longer so that it would blouse up a little bit. So there's my slit. I only need one slit. I only have one tie. So it's Saturday, you guys. 3 inches is a good slit. Thank you for saying that. I feel like the sleeve one's pretty big. And I don't want like there to be like a hole where you could see right into my blouse. That's what I was thinking at quilter. I was thinking, oh, you know, I've had this slit before and it was a little, like you could see inside my shirt a little bit, you know. I'm not going for that effect. So this has only 1/2 inch seams. I say only, but that would, honestly, I love that. You're a junkie for UK patterns? Really, Megan? How come? So this is 1/2 inch seams. I find I do a little better with 5/8 for French seams. This wasn't designed for French seams, so it's nothing they did wrong or anything like that. And 1/2 inch is fine, as long as you're a little more precise than I'm being. In fact, trimming this with a rotary knife would probably be a little easier, you know, just saying. But this works. And I'm going to iron these and finish them. Really, I should have done probably the neck facing before I did the side seams. I think my brain is capitalizing on like getting up and using the iron with you guys, you know? So like capitalizing on the time, like less getting up to the iron, but not that you guys would care. It's just one of those things. I'm always trying to figure out efficient ways to do things, even when I don't need to. I'm trying to slow down and not be so efficient, you know? So, I feel like I've heard of Republique du Chauvin and Maison Fauve. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any requests for fall patterns? Hearts is pretty open to me suggesting things. Let me iron. So when my shirt's already kind of sewn together, it makes the ironing a little hard, so I just kind of pull my seams to the middle of the garment. Like that. And same with the sides. I just kind of stagger them from each other like this. Doesn't matter which direction you press them. It just helps on the next step if you do. You know? Ah, the Magnolia. Maybe I should get that box. Which box is that in? Which fabric did you pick? Like, is it the So Confident box? That dress is going to be gorgeous, Megan. What a treat to have that dress. It feels like everyone who like I see wearing it, because I looked at the hashtag recently, they just look like they feel amazing. You know what I mean? That feeling, some of those outfits we have. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, it is. Oh, what's cool about their website, Lisa? Yeah, I think I'm gonna start trying to promote the sponsorship thing because I think it's I personally think it's a good deal. Like, I'm not charging people. I'm just like, yo, you know, if you want samples and then you have videos you can refer people to on how to sew it. I think some people are kind of nervous, like maybe they won't like the way I sew it. Maybe they're nervous I'll say something negative about their patterns. But you guys know me. I'm honest, but there's a lot of ways to get to the same conclusion, and that's the way I feel about it. I don't disparage pattern drafters for having their own way of doing something, you know? All right, so now I'm going back and I'm encasing this seam here. And I may end up like cumulatively using a little over the 1/2 inch seam allowance because I'm not being like perfectly precise. I'm just gonna clip this little slit here to make it a little easier to get close here. And I just left it kind of open. It's a little messy at the top here anytime I do these little French seams, but I'm gonna cover all that up with the binding. The Kelly anorak, all right. So something like jackets, those are good for sponsorships only because I personally don't need 6 jackets. You know what I mean? I don't know what the So Julian Chore jacket is, Lisa. I've never heard of that. All right, let's see. Just making my way around the garment, doing all my French seams here. Easy peasy. Lisa, really? No, don't do that. Maybe I should start selling patterns. I love French seams now. I thought they were a little like I was being kind of a snob using them. That's why I never did. All right, so there's our French seam, nice and finished inside. I feel like the garment needs less ironing with them. I know it sounds crazy, but the Lucerne, Deer and Dose of Lucerne, a lot of bias binding. Really? I love bias binding. What does that look like, Claire? What does that look? The Kelly anorak looks fun to sew, honestly. I'm just a little upset at Closet Case for not expanding their sizing, you guys. I'll say that, because I don't think they are. I think that's kind of like, I don't know. Kind of weird. The Joy jacket, I've heard of that. Have you mentioned that, a quilter? Is that where I've heard that from? All right, so I'm doing my facings now. All right, so there's a lot of ways to do facings, but the basic way, basically, would be your shoulder seams. You don't need to do any finishing or anything. You can finish them if you want. Traditionally, it was never like required to do that. Oh, really, Malin? That's good to hear because they did not act like it before. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. So, you know, if you have a serger, you can sew your shoulders and then serge the perimeter edge. I say do your shoulders first, then the perimeter, because it's really nice when you have a nice continuous serged edge at this juncture, you know, right here. Because, you know, maybe you sew this and it gets a little off. You can smooth out this little dip there, you know, stuff like that. The other way I was talking about yesterday, I didn't do it on this because it would have been a little too heavy and bulky and stiff, is you can sew these clean finished. So you can do your shoulders like this, have another set of facings that you've cut out, right? So you have another set, and then you sew around the edge, you connect them, sew and turn, and then you have a nice clean finished both sides facing. That's kind of a lot. You don't need to do that. So Oh, got it. Is that what a Hong Kong seam is when you bias bind it? Okay. I will say that I lately, because I'm trying to not use the serger for a lot of my makes on here, because normally what I would do is I would just serge the perimeter edge. That would be it. But I have a lot of success just hemming that edge. Why does my stitch seem so long? Okay. So this edge right here, I am finding that even just turning it back like this and stitching it down is a really nice finish. Oh, I didn't know that was called a Hong Kong finish. So do all countries have a seam finish? Like, you know, French seams, Hong Kong. So that Hawthorne dress I was wearing yesterday, this is what I did. I just turned it like this and stitched it down. Raw like that and everything. It has been beautiful. So when you use the serger edge, it's nice and flat. If I were to serge this edge and then fold it, it would be a little thick. All that thread adds a thickness that you don't really need. So I'm just going to try my little method of doing a really narrow hem here. This doesn't show on the outside of the garment, you guys. It's a really wide facing, so you have some options. If you were doing a really lightweight fabric, you could even bias bind this. Do you really, Claire? Or are you just teasing me? Hi, Nancy. Yeah, Eileen, I was just talking about that. Oh, so wait a minute, Eileen. Wait a minute. So do you do the fabric as one layer and the interfacing as one layer, sew it and then turn it and iron it? Because that's pretty genius. I've only heard of doing it with fabric, like clean finish. Right. You know what? Maybe I've always misinterpreted. That's what people were saying. That's great. I love that. I could have totally done that on this one. I wish I would have tried that. I don't believe Claire. I think she's teasing us. You call them English seams. It's like I will talk to people like you guys are like, why is it called Swedish tracing paper? I'm Swedish and I've never heard of it. You know? It's so funny. All right, so Saturday I'm gonna sew a cupcake or two. And I think a pie maybe. But I was also thinking, if you're more interested, I have this noodle head making backpack cut out, and I've had it cut out for a few months now. It's my only thing that's sitting over there unfinished right behind me. It's for my nephew. I should have sewn it by now. But I could sew that too. It's all in Harry Potter fabrics, which is pretty fun. I like sewing that backpack. And it is kind of that, you know, back to school time of year. All right, so there's my little hem. See, it looks, you know, even though it's a raw edge, it doesn't matter. It's going to the interfacing side. And it looks so nice on this side, you know? So, hi, Rachel's sewing group. So this airs at a time that works for your sewing group, Rachel? That's pretty cool. Nancy, the American way is to leave it all raggedy. So that's the American seam finish, is that what you're saying? So we have French seams, Hong Kong finish, and then now Claire tells us the French call French seams English seams. This is so funny. I would love to do like a poll or something, or someone bigger than me to do a poll so we'd get lots of answers to see. Okay, we can do the backpack. Harry Potter, you have me. That's right, Megan. Okay, Where's my little label? Here's my little label. And so there's a few ways I could do this little guy here. A little guy, I know it's me, but it does look a little bit clowny. I could put it in the, you know, seam, but I think what I'm gonna do is hang it down here like that, you know? Let's find the center. Wait, where am I folding here? Let's find the, fold the facing, find the center. Here's my center. And I'm just gonna stitch my little label like that. Would have been a little cleaner to include it in the hem there. That way it's not so close up to the neck. You know what I mean? Oh, Megan, let me tell you, my family's beyond making fun of me. They're the ones who've contributed to a lot of my collection. All right, so I did this a little out of order in that I already did the side seams because I didn't want to swap between the iron and all the French seams. But if you did that too, I would turn your blouse inside out. Mainly because my machine, remember, is flush with the table. I know a lot of you folks have your machine sits in your sewing table, so you might have the same issue. But some folks, their machine sits on top of the table, and the bed right here is, the free arm is still available, and it's not on mine. So the way I get around that is I just sew it so that all of the garment stays above the machine. So I'm sewing it in a circle like this, right? So then none of it gets under my garment and gets caught, you know? It is, Eileen. It's cute. I want to be in a sewing group. You're my sewing group, you guys. All right, so these are my, this is the back, and so I'm just telling this myself out loud. That's the back, so I'm pressing the shoulder seams towards the back. I usually start and stop at the shoulder seams, not at the center back. It's just a habit I like, because I like my starts and stops to be kind of a little hidden, you know? On this, it wouldn't even matter. But, you know, on more visible seams, it will. All right, so I'm actually going to pin this. Where's a pin? So I can see how my facing is fitting in the neckline because I've ironed the inner facing and I didn't do a stay stitch. I just want to see. There's my little middle of the way spot. Looks like it's fine. I don't have any issues here. I'm also going to do 1/4 inch seams. The pattern calls for 1/2 inch, but the one thing I have noticed when I look at the hashtag for this garment is it's a little low for me. So this isn't going to bring it up very much, only 1/4 of an inch. But that 1/4 inch kind of adds up when it's all the way around the garment. The garment will sit a little higher. You know what I mean? I think something's touching something. So I keep hearing a noise. It vibrates. All right, so let's line up our centers. So I have my little V's that I made. That's my target halfway point. Now you can see my interfacing is kind of poking up above the fabric there. I'm not lining up those edges on the interfacing edge. I'm lining it up with the fabric edge. That was just me not cutting my interfacing perfectly, or maybe not lining it up when I was ironing it, you know? So it's better to go by your fabric edges. That's the real edge. All right. Oh, you guys would be so proud of me. I cut out a bunch of quilt squares last night. Quilt squares from my class. Keep the momentum. Oh my gosh, Megan, really? Right, a quilter? Exactly. I know, I've gotten a lot of t-shirts. I'm not typically a t-shirt person. Oh, I have tucks. Look at that. I have 2 tucks. Wow. Let's fix that. I have one here and one here. that doesn't really ever happen. Back off a little bit. Because our next step is we're going to clip the neck seam, understitch it, and then it's done. So we just want to make sure we get a nice smooth seam right here. Pretty sure I only need the seam ripper because Nancy came. She loves calling me out. All right, let's see, we got a little bit out of here. Get rid of these threads now so you don't stitch them back in there. Do a little more. Now, it's okay that I'm going to ease this a little bit because when the facing turns to the inside, it's going to have a nice rounded edge. I always got to call you out, Nancy. All right, we'll do it on this side. I think I sewed it on from the inner facing side before. The inner facing is less forgiving than the rayon, right? The rayon's pretty loosey-goosey. Get rid of these threads here. There's our other one. Pull out a few more stitches. Oh, let's get rid of this thread here. We don't want to stitch that in there. You know what I mean? The one you take out and then you stitch on top of it and it just gets all tangled up in there, you know? So I try and cut that. Sometimes you're like, I just want to fix this really quick. It's almost like because we have to fix something, we want to fix it so quickly like it never happened, you know? But you might be heading right back into fixing something if you go too quickly. I speak definitely from experience. All right. Any threads I need to trim? Oof, I got another tuck. Do I have another little tuck right there? No. It's just a little wrinkle. We're good. All right, so now we're gonna clip our neckline. Really focus around the curves. If you used 1/2 inch seam allowance, I would trim it down to 1/4 inch. So the reason I say that, especially with some fabrics, when you wash it and it's all pressed and you know you're wearing it and stuff, when this is finished, right, this edge is going to lay right there against the facing edge. See, this is why we have to clip it so that the edges spread out. You've heard my whole speech on why that they need to spread out, so I won't go into that. But the other thing I sometimes try and point out is that this little edge right here is creating a ridge in your fabric. And so say you use a fabric like a sand washed tencel or something, you might end up getting a little line of just like, you know how like when your denim fades and that's one little spot always wrinkles, that kind of thing. So it's not like, if you don't mind that kind of lived in look and you're looking for that, it's just having that ridge of your seam allowance just provides a spot for it to wear and kind of fade right there. So it's just a way to cut that down. When it's only 1/4 inch, it's not so bad because we're gonna understitch it and it's kind of far enough away from the edge, or it's short enough, I should say, that it's not, you know, it's not going to create that wear edge. Like a 1/2 inch is wider. All right, so now I'm going to straighten this all out, and now I'm going to do my understitch. Well, let's keep it inside out actually. The key with facings is getting them to lay flat. Am I right? I always start, like I say, on the shoulder seam, but you know, you don't have to. It just hides the little start-stop back and forth a little better. So you're pressing the seam allowance towards the facing when you're doing an understitch. So I open it up, lay it all flat, and stitch along the edge. I know a lot of sewers who get into garment making get kind of confused between all the different terminologies for these stitches, like understitch, edge stitch, and top stitch. Once you do them a few times, they'll make sense to you. Understitch is always this stitch. I am stitching along the edge on the top of the fabric, but it's because I'm pressing the seam allowance towards one direction that's on the underside of the garment. It's called the understitch, right? And then what I do personally is I center this foot on the seam line. So I'm kind of stitching less, like more like a 1/16 of an inch from the edge, or maybe an eighth of an inch or less is what I would go for. You want to be able to do it wide enough that you're securing the seam allowance underneath. So if it was a 1/2 inch seam and you're using a 1/16 of an inch, that seam allowance might fight you a little bit later on in pushing your facing to the outside. So because my seam allowance is only 1/4 of an inch and my understitch width here is 1/16 to an 1/8, it is going to help secure it. And you know, make sure you're really pressing it, like all the seam allowances that way. You don't really need to pin this. You can feel it. It feels just exactly like it should, you know? Like it feels proper to do this. Yep, and you always stitch on the facing side. Stitching on the other side, I'll show you what it would look like. It might be a little messy feeling, and you might get a little distracted by all the little... My machine just got hung up on that thickness right there. So if I were to do it on this side, all these little like cut edges, it might make you feel a little like, oh, am I doing this right? You know? And on top of it, your stitches look nicer on the right side usually, so it's nice to always be stitching on the side that might show the most. So, and then the difference between edge stitch and top stitch, sometimes there's none. Top stitch just means you're always on the outside of the garment and it's decorative and sometimes functional, of course. Edge stitch just means you're just stitching along the edge. They can kind of sometimes be used interchangeably. So the other thing I like to do, so let's look at my facing. Let's see how it's doing. So if I've clipped it well, understitched it well, it's gonna want to, you know, go to the inside of the garment, right? Especially if the garment is laying flat. Right? So we have this like this. It's looking nice and finished, right? So now the last little thing I like to do, I don't have a ripple there, don't worry. It's just not tucked up in there, is I like to stitch in the ditch. That's the other stitch. So the stitch in the ditch will secure my facing to the shoulder seams. You really can't do it anywhere else on the facing. So just try and, you know, you may be doing a little bit of ironing to keep your facing to the inside of the garment. It'll depend on the fabric and how all the stars aligned that day when you sewed, you know, and everything went good, right? Okay, so I'm gonna actually pin this down. I'm gonna check it. You could just go by stacking your shoulder seams on top of each other, but sometimes you might not have gotten your seam allowance quite right, or maybe when it got on the neckline, the whole facing got shifted a little tiny bit. So, I wouldn't trust that. I would trust how the garment's laying, you know? So I'm going to lay this on here, and then I'm going to turn my garment right side out and see if I've got the facing kind of lined up well. That facing is pretty stiff. All right, so I don't think, I'm gonna pull out my pins. I'm gonna lay it like this. Let's see. I don't think it was pulling anywhere weird. I think it's all pretty good. All right, so now the stitch in the ditch, you don't have to do this. Yeah, you could also do that. You could even hand stitch your facings to the shoulder seams if you don't like doing this. I've even machine stitched it like this, where I've picked up my seam allowance like this and stitched my facing. Just make sure that your facing is nice and flush and flat on the inside of the garment before you do that. Because you wouldn't want to get a little like pucker, you know what I mean? Because if you stitched this to here, then, you know, you're on the outside, it's going to like pull weird. So just get this nice and flat. And you could just stitch these two together, little hand by hand or with your machine. But the stitch in the ditch is so fun, and you don't get an opportunity to use it very much. And it sounds cool. So we're going to do it. But I love that you use it, Nancy. All right, so I'm going to pull apart this seam pretty aggressively, and I'm going to stitch in the ditch of my seam allowance. You don't have to do the whole seam. I just do like an inch. And yes, a little bit of it might show, but you'll be surprised at how it kind of fades over time. Like, it just kind of blends in. The garment gets used to having it. And see, look, see my shoulder seam didn't line up. That's why you want to check it first, because it matters more about how it looks on the outside. All right. If you have a fabric like this with the print, and maybe your thread might not match pretty badly in some of the spots that are kind of dark, I would then just aim for the spots that match your thread. There's a stitch in the ditch tool. Oh, you stitch in the ditch too. It works good. Yeah, it washes good. You know, the only thing I find is that it comes out over time. And I have no clue why. No matter how many times I back stitch it or whatever, it'll eventually come out. Maybe it's just the abrasion of my bra strap against it, or my shoulders, backpacks, you know, I don't know. All right, so there we go. There's our neckline. It's looking pretty good. Let's do our sleeves. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is my bias. So since I have less to deal with when I go to sew it, right? It's not attached to the garment. I like to try and do as much to the thick piece as possible before I attach it to the garment so that it's less to handle. So this kind of slit, it actually has a wedge cut out of it as well. It's not just like the kind that you put on a sleeve placket, you know, where it just goes straight up into the sleeve and you cut it after you've cut out the sleeve, you know what I'm talking about. This one actually has a little wedge, and it's mostly so that there's room for your knot when you go to tie it, right? So you see how there's this triangle here. You do not sew it at 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way up. What you're going to do is you're going to pretend like this is a straight line, and that you're lining this up. You're going to line up the raw edge here. Hope I'm explaining this correctly. And then you're going to keep your 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that means when you look at it on this side, you're going to be just barely passing the center of that. So I'll sew this on the inside of the sleeve. Usually I would sew it with the bias side up. This is how you would also do a sleeve pocket. So I'll show you what I mean here. So the seam allowance on the binding stays at 1/4 inch, but the sleeve, it's gonna go away from the edge there. I'm gonna sink my needle. Actually, I don't have to worry about it. Just like this. I'll show you close up in a second. If you're new here, I have a machine that has the automatic back tack and it thread clip, and that's why you hear some of these noises. Also, see right now how my presser foot's up? It's gonna get tired of waiting for me and it's gonna slam down, so you'll hear that occasionally, but that's what that is. It's my foot that raises and lowers it. But if it gets tired, it makes that noise, just so you know. All right, so you see that? That's what you want this kind of placket. I feel like, because I hesitated right there, I got a little crooked, but the binding, when we sew the binding, it's gonna be fine. And on this side, you just have a nice even 1/4 inch seam allowance. Hard to see on the lighter fabrics, right? I'll press this. I'll pretend like I'm, you know, sewing for an audience, and I'll press it before I keep going. All right, so I'll sew this one as well from the sleeve side up. It's a little awkward doing it from the sleeve side because the binding piece is so narrow. That's typically why you would have the binding on the top side. But when you're trying to get the hang of sewing this part, I would recommend sewing it with the sleeve side up, or the piece with the slit, you know? Because usually what you would do is you would sew this without straightening it, and you would pivot at this little halfway point. I feel like this is almost more accurate to do it this way. There's nothing wrong with this way either. All right, so let's iron it. I have a lot of experience sewing bias and binding. This is actually not cut on the bias. I didn't even cut it on the cross grain like they recommend. I cut it on the length grain because I was getting a little low on fabric. And rayon is so forgiving, it's not going to be a big deal. The bias is a little more forgiving though. It's not as fun to cut, but at the same time when you sew it, it's a little more forgiving of the torquing and the wrinkles and things like that. And generally I wouldn't press this, but it'll be so much easier. And you can continue to press it. You can even press this, you know, so that it's in the shape if you want, like this. In general, I would just sew it. I think it's doable without doing the pressing. This part is kind of nice that we're pressing it first. It'll make it look nicer and lay better for the next step. You can never go wrong with pressing. All right, I kind of want to press my shirt right now just so we can see how it's doing, you know? I'm sewing the size 14. What is that? That's that little, look at that little piece of fabric there that was connected to my bias. I didn't manage to trim it when I sewed it, and now it's sticking through my seam. Oh well, we'll fix it. Give my facing a good press. I do like a really wide facing. I feel like you have less chance of it poking to the outside, which is such a nuisance, you know? You could even bias finish this. You don't have to use a facing. We haven't done it in a while, so it's kind of nice to do it. think I just got a wrinkle. That's when you can go wrong with ironing, is when you put a wrinkle in it. Do you guys see? I feel like maybe it's not a blue cast to it. It's just the other birds showing through. Maybe if I had taken a little swatch of the fabric before I washed it. Yeah, this is the Lucerne top. I didn't adjust for anything sizing related a quilter, but I did add the waist tie. Here's the pattern. So this is the, sorry, my printer's kind of ruined from printing shipping labels for years. So it has a pedal sleeve, scoop neck option. See, and it just has like a little gentle curved hem normally. So that's the one she's wearing right there. Oh, it's a little bright. You see that? This is the one I decided to go with the tie sleeve. I stuck with the scoop neck, but it does come in a V-neck option. And then I added the waist tie. So that's what I did differently. Oh shoot, all my pattern pieces came off. Because I can't find my pattern hooks. I even looked again today. I know I'm not going to find them. I don't know why I keep looking. You gotta lose something in every move, right? And that's what I lost with my pattern hooks, weirdly. So weird. What a weird thing to lose. It was a heavy box and it sounded like rattly metal. So it's not like someone would be like, this looks like trash, you know? All right, so I'm gonna do the binding. I'm just gonna turn quarter quarter. All right, so one thing I did, I kind of went against one of my little things here. This is something I normally would have started from the inside and finished on the outside. So if you are new to this kind of binding, sewing, that's what I would recommend. So do it right side to wrong side of your sleeve and sew it just how I sewed it, but start from on the inside of the garment first. I'll show you why, because this isn't gonna look as good as it could. Because I can't see my final seam, and you know, we don't really care what the inside looks like of this part, right? I mean, that's not bad, but look right there, that's where I thought of it. I was like, oh yeah, shouldn't have done that, you know? Let's see, this is the front, that's the back, so this goes like this. As far as I'm concerned, it'll go like that. It'll kind of hide it. So one other little trick you can do to get this to lay nicely. I'm gonna trim this so that's flush with the sleeve edge. Sorry, I'm not following the instructions right now. I did look them over, so feel free to follow the instructions exactly. But this is one of my little tips. I'm gonna fold this back. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It'll look nicer. And then right here at this little fold part, I'm gonna line these up right here. I'm gonna sew right across this little corner. This is how I would do it on a button-down sleeve too. This just makes it lay nicer on the outside, like that. So then when the tie is sewn and it goes to tie it together, but honestly, this kind of sleeve, it's butting up against each other, right? It's not as if you're lapping it like a cuff. I'm just trying to make it look a little more polished. Plus, it's nice when you can kind of make this lay flatter on the inside, because otherwise, I'll show you if we don't do that, the difference. It's not a big deal. You don't have to do this. It's just a nice little touch. All right, so let's try and stay on the placket this time now that I know the pitfalls of sewing it from the outside to the in. I like sewing it from the inside to the outside. That's how I do collars too. Collars, cuffs, bands. I'll do it on the waistband. I'll show you what I mean there. Okay, I just folded it and lined it up here. Now I'm just gonna pull it, tuck it in there. See that? Look at that. I'm just pulling it. It wants to sew that way. I'm trying to get this little thread under there. It makes binding a lot easier. All right, so I'm gonna cut this edge here, nice and flush. So this one hasn't been like shaped at all, right? So if you just left this like this and your tie went straight into itself, like butted up against, you might end up getting this. You might end up getting that. Now, and then directions, I haven't read them. They may tell you to do this, fold back both sides of the binding like this. But you still end up getting this keyhole, right? So my idea is that I'm trying to kind of soften that keyhole a little bit. You can learn from my experiments, right? So maybe it won't work. We'll see. All right, and then I fold this in half and then just kind of tame the tip here. Get rid of your threads. Okay. And that way it goes more like that. All right, I need this binding for the waist closure, so I'll leave that there. And now let's sew our underarm seam and we'll put our tie on. It's gonna really start looking like the blouse. Doing the French seams again. I like them on rayon, you know? Like if I serge all the edges, that would work, but the serging is a little heavy, because my thread's a little heavy. You trust me? Oh, I make plenty of mistakes on here, Claire. You'll see. All right, it's a pretty small seam, so I'm just gonna finger press this. But you can press it with your iron too. It'll even be nicer. All right, so we'll press this like this. And we're gonna press it on the fold edge. All right. There's one, and did I even trim that one? It's weird that I can see the seam allowance shape right there. It's gonna get covered up now. So we'll see. Oh. I can imagine a lot of people do this with French seams. All right. Got our sleeves. So I'm gonna just finish these with the ties and everything before I put them on the garment, because then there's less kind of to handle, you know? So now I just need to decide if I'm going to, I think I am. I'm gonna put this on first and then do the perimeter with the tie. So let's find our center. It might have been marked on here on the pattern piece and I missed it because it was a pattern piece on the fold, and sometimes those little markings are really hard to see. Here it is, here it is. I didn't get my interfacing quite in the middle on the other one. Kind of funny. So personally, this is like a good example. I'm gonna sew this from the inside of the sleeve to the outside. It'll be not as nice to sew because I put the interfacing on the exposed side, exposed to the outside of the garment. Like, I'm not describing that. So this right here, I put the interfacing on the side of the sleeve, that when the sleeve is completely sewn, the interfacing side is exposed to the world, right? But I'm going to sew it from the inside of the garment first. This pattern didn't call for interfacing, so you'd have to deal with this either way. But it would have been nice to have the interfacing kind of as more stability and stiffness, because you know how rayon can be. So, like I said, I'm going to sew with the inside of the sleeve tie first. And I'm going to push my seam towards the back. I'm going to center this right here, because I'm actually not sure where the tie ends on this, on the sleeve, because remember there's part of it is hanging loose. So now I'm just going to walk this tie to the beginning of this edge here, like this. I'm not pulling or anything. And then I have my little turned back front, my experiment. Maybe it's in the instructions. Hi Mata, how's it going? You're always welcome, no matter when you come. I don't really need to pin that one. I just needed my start spot right here. So this is the right side of the sleeve tied to the wrong side of the sleeve. And it's 1/2 inch seams, which I almost forgot. I didn't turn my sleeve the right direction, so hopefully... Or did I? Oh yeah, I did. I'm okay. Okay, great. I was a little worried that I might catch my sleeve underneath. Alright, so we're just attaching the tie to the sleeve hem right here. Pushing my seam allowance towards the back of the sleeve. Bring my pin cushion over here. It's like so far over there. This is where, you know, my seam started, so I got a little bit of thread vomit there. I'm gonna kind of pull that into the seam. Because it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance, it'll all get enclosed, which is nice. I didn't even do a back tack there, and it's still kind of messy. That's why I don't do back tacks a lot of times. I don't like them peeking out of my seams, you know? But at least that'll get enclosed right there. So now I have my sleeve, right? Let me see if I can get this. Okay, so here's my sleeve with the tie, and now I'm going to go back and finish it this way. Now, there might, I don't think there is actually. So I'm gonna pin it the center first. And so this way, because I'm ending on the outside of the sleeve, I know what it'll look like. That's why I like doing it this way. So if I would have done it from the right side to the wrong side, I would have had to be guessing when I'm stitching this down how it's going to look on the right side. I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. But first, actually, we're going to sew our, I almost forgot. We need to sew our ties here. So we're going to put these, and let's just sew as much as possible. Maybe we can even get a little bit more than what we'll have to finish. I need to do 1/2 inch seams, right? I'm going to do a 1/4 inch on the end so that it's longer, if anything, and then I'm going to pivot at the 1/2 inch. I got to include that little cut I have in my fabric there, remember? So this is where you don't want to get any torquing, right? So it would be good to maybe mark where this is across from itself so that you know you're not getting any torquing. So I'm going to kind of include this and kind of put it in there. Where's my center? Oh, here it is, right here. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to walk it down here. See, like that? I can actually get quite a bit. So maybe I will. Oh, except I twisted it. All right, let's try that again. right? Like this. I'm finishing my tie. Would have been better to do it from the other side so I could see this seam right here so I could cover it up. Make sure I cover it up. I don't want to catch my sleeve in there. I'm going to go as far as I can. I can actually do quite a bit. I'm feeling my seam there. I'll go that far. Let's see how it looks. Is this my seam? That's my seam. I'm making sure that my seam is below the stitch line. Perfect, okay. Let's cut this here, trim our corners like this, and then pull it right side out. Sorry, I'm having trouble grabbing it. Here we go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so that's one side, right? If it all looks okay. It's one side and my tie is loose here and a little stiffer there. So there, now it's clean finished right there, almost all the way. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Susan. All right, so let's do this side now. Put our sleeve in there best we can. We might not get as far this time because we already have some of it sewn. Really, you want to worry about torquing, right? We don't like torquing. I know you guys are all going to tease me that it sounds like I'm saying twerking. We don't like that either, though. I'm trying to find an easy way to hold this right now. All right, so I'm going to put my sleeve in here, fold it in half. And you just want to make sure that you're just directly across it from the other side. One way you could do that is by just folding this in half here and just giving yourself a mark on where this is stitched here. So let's see, we'll fold this in half gently, don't pull. A little bit is on the bias. And then mark it right there. This pattern, it would have been good for it to have some markings where the sleeve opening is right here. You would have had to in the garment industry for sure. Where'd my mark go? Dang it, I lost my mark. Did I not clip it good? Oh, it's right there, okay. All right, so this is what we'll do. And we'll pin that right there. I'm going to sew it from this side so I can see my stitching. I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch down here, and then I'm going to pivot it to half, like this. Oh, I pinned on the wrong side. Oops, here we go. So now I can see that seam right there, and I can make sure my needle is to the left of it. There we go. Let's do as much of this as we can. Right? We can get a little more now that we can see our seam too. All right. Hi, Brooke. How's it going? You rewinding yarn? All right, so let's pull this to the right side. Certainly having the ties adds an element of fussiness, but it is such a nice finishing technique, you know? It kind of sets it apart from other things. Looks different. I'm probably sewing it in a fussier way too because I don't want to, I just want it to be as symmetrical as possible without any torquing, right? You should be. And so what are you doing? Why aren't you rewinding yarn? Get on it. How's your kitten? Brooke found a kitten in her backyard. Disappointingly, they didn't name it Sirius Black. They named it Bramble. Okay, so now this is all I have left of that's the only bit of the opening. So let's see, let's hope it is the same amount. The sleeve looks a little bit longer. Can I ease all that in there? Ooh, I don't know, you guys. Look at that. That's quite a bit, actually. I think I can do it. We'll iron that before we do it, though. Oh, you're calling people responding emails. That's a lot of work. All right, what did we learn from doing the first one? The second one always goes easier, right? That's the front. I always check the notches. There's one notch. There's two notches. The reason I don't just be like, oh, there's one notch, it's the front, because there could be two notches there and I just missed doing one. So I just look for the double notch to confirm it. So you don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet? Aww. Very young then. And you can't tell. It's so cute, you guys. It's black, but it has like faint tiger stripes on it. It's pretty funny. And it was so happy to get food. It was purring and talking while I was eating. So funny. She sent me a little video. It was really cute. Let's do some markings for ourselves here. We're going to put a center on both sides. Okay, we do have a center on both sides. Let's just put in a couple of others. They can be wherever you want. They're not going to be guides on getting it to the sleeve. We're just going to do it so that we know when we're sewing that that needs to go there and this side here, right? We're just going to do that. Let's give ourselves some guides. Kind of like a third of the way, half the way, a quarter of the way. Oh, so I didn't do a very good job of getting the halfway point of my interfacing. You see that? I was very meticulous about that on that Kilo wrap dress. Is it a decal on the front of my machine? Oh, right here facing me. It is. I added it, Eileen. Flip it over and look for nipples. Boys and girls both have nipples, Megan. Okay. Partly that might be, oh, that's not why. Why was my other one so slack? Oh, really? Claire, what? You just rocked my world. 1.2 ounces? Oh my gosh. Yeah, this one it looks so little. I don't know if it has brothers and sisters nearby or what. What were you going to say, Nancy? This one, her kitten looks like, I don't know, what would you say, Brooke? 4 weeks? 3 weeks? You look for a slit or a nugget, yeah. But it's fluffy, you guys. It's fluffy. I've had small kittens, and it is hard to tell when they're that fluffy. Let's see, where's my, okay, so I'm doing it to this edge, this way, and right here. You are going right here, okay. So wrong side of the sleeve to the right side of the facing. Oh, that both sides have nipples, yeah. It is fully weaned, yeah. Yeah. Do you think someone lost their kitten? All right, so just gonna gently pull that there. And gently hold this here. Get my little thread weirdos in the seam. Thread weirdos, right? Your son's allergic to cats. Oh, what a bummer. When I hear that, it's like, for me, I'm always like, whatever people want to do, man. It's like, live and let live is my policy. But I do admit a little bit of sadness when I hear someone's allergic to cats. I'm like, oh, I really love cats. Wow, Brooke, I mean, that kitten. Because he doesn't look unhealthy either. You know? See all this thread stuff? I want that in my seam allowance. But he was hungry. You have a Katniss? Love it. I have a Mockingjay tattoo. All right, so. All right, so we did wrong side of the sleeve to the right side of the tie, right? And then now we're going to, is this what you guys call the burrito method? I'm gonna line that up like this. Kind of is like a burrito, right? I love that I put these little guidelines this time. Way easier. You know? Yeah, exactly, Brooke. Like, he was hungry, but he didn't look unhealthy. You can tell. Someone was grooming him. You know? His mom or something. She lives... It's... rural, kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's not a city. She doesn't live in a city, if that's what you mean. Like, no high rises. She's in a residential neighborhood in a town that is very agriculturally centered. Wait, did I miss my... Oh yeah, no, I got that spot on. Wow. Don't you hate it when you do that? You doubt yourself and you were fine. You can see this is pulling and it's just my sleeve in there because we're really working the system here. Yeah, he was in the blackberry brandles. She immediately sent me the video and I was like, look, I'm not taking all of your found cats. Or found animals. Yeah, right? Yeah, she or he is really a love bug. Such a love bug. How is your other cat liking your kitten? Oh, like a barn cat had babies, right? Let's take that pin out. Do I really need to turn this right now? Let's just do the other side, right? I don't think I have to turn that. Maybe I do. I need some slack. So she needs to keep it, Megan. She needs to keep it for my sake. But she has, I'm like telling Brooke's story, but she has a cat that's not a big fan of other cats, and then she has a lot of little chihuahuas. All right, so now we're slipping this one in here. I'm making these ties look really hard, aren't I, you guys? Sorry. Sorry if I make them look harder than they are. It's really, it's interesting because partly it's just because this hanging extra part that you have to have finished. that's kind of what makes it a little trickier to do these as opposed to a regular cuff, you know. That's good. That's good, Brick. I think Cece approves then. I'm just gonna say it. Cool. Yay. And his name's, or her name's Bramble. Unless I'm visiting and it's serious. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of tuck as much as I can in here. Do I have another sewing guide? Not really. Just gonna try and get as much as I can without catching my sleeve and without stretching anything. Ooh, I can get pretty far. Bramble. Isn't that funny how it's only 2 syllables, but it's kind of... I mean, you can call him Blackberry. But then you'd call him Blackie. And he's a black cat. And that just doesn't sound imaginative, you know? It's like so many black cats are called Spooky. You know? All right, I could use my loop turner, but these are so short. That's why I'm kind of just sticking my finger in and pulling it through. And plus the loop turner and rayon, you know, that's not the greatest. All right, but now we can iron these and see how they look and see how much I have to ease between the points that aren't sewn down. Let's try and turn this so it's ready to iron, that is. Hopefully I didn't catch any on my sleeve. I gotta check that over too. I think I'm okay, so. Yeah, right, Megan? I'm kind of hoping DeBram, that's cute. I'm kind of hoping those tiger stripes come out too. So I was like, is that a bald patch on him? Like, does he have like follicular mange? Like, what's going on? She's like, that's a gray spot on his chest. I was like, oh, okay. Apple changing your text. It's like naming a Dalmatian Dottie, exactly. Now, let me refine these little points here, and then we will... It doesn't look like I got a straight up and down seam right there, but I think it's the optical illusion of that curve, you know? All right. Oh, I hate to see that. A little thread pull. I'm just gonna cut it before it gets worse. All right, so let's iron these. Okay. They could be even thinner, you know. Oh, so you're taking him to the vet. So then you'll find out if it's a boy or a girl, too. Sometimes they can't tell. I think I've only ever had boy cats. And people are always like, oh, I only like girl cats. But I have to admit, I'm kind of partial to boy animals. They're a little mellower. But that being said, you know, I have Molly now. Well, she's not that mellow actually, so she's not really she's not disproving my point. Okay, so you see that? I have a little bit of stitching showing right there. I'd probably have to pull that out at this point because getting back in there to fix it's probably not worth the trouble. I'll just like pull out those stitches as far as I can. And that was the stitches from the first pass when I put it on from the inside. Yeah, I just got a wrinkle in there. It's like the interfacing was loose right there. It wasn't ironed down or something. Don't do that. Don't do that. Where's my salami? Here it is. Let's get the inside edge here. A mint. He's called Minty. What's a humbug? Is that a cookie? Oh, really, Nancy? I didn't know that. Bye, Quilter. Thanks for coming. Katniss is a good cat name. All right, this is ironed enough. I don't need to do that more. Okay, let's do the outside now. So here's my opening right here. That's all I have left to finish, but I'll stitch the whole sleeve. Not the whole tie, just the whole sleeve. But look, you can see I have a little bit to ease in there. It's kind of a lot, honestly. I just sounded like a Minecraft character. Okay. Alright, this is pretty good ironed. Okay, let's try this one now. You like boy cats and girl dogs, Polly? Oh, okay. Oh, it's a hard candy. Ooh. I love mint and chocolate. I love it so much. It's like one of my favorite combos. Mint chocolate chip ice cream. Oh yeah. I'm kind of in a chocolate and peanut butter ice cream kick right now though. But mint chip sounds so good right now. Oh my gosh. This little tie doesn't have interfacing out here, so I'm just focusing on where the seam is. A little awkward. Let's iron this right here on the inside first, and then we'll get the rest. A humbug. That's a cute name for a candy, actually. Minty. When you said they were named Mint and you're explaining it, I was trying to picture if I'd ever seen an animal with green and brown on it. You were thinking a bug? That's actually a good guess, Megan. Boys don't pee everywhere. Mine don't. None of mine do. I mean, the pug's like, oh, the weather isn't 75 and perfectly still with no rain and no wind. Oh, I think I can't go outside unless it's perfect. He's such a, like, he's so active. He really wants to be on walks and things like that, but He would just rather be a couch potato at home. I mean, he wants to play. He doesn't want to go outside and go to the bathroom. What's this thread right here? All right, let's see how we're doing. What are frango meant? Frango? What are you saying? You keep forgetting to translate. I know Andy's mitts are good. But you know what's interesting, and maybe it's an American thing, we dye our mint green. Like one of my favorite mint ice creams, they don't dye it, and they use actual peppermint plant, not the extract. And so it has a very natural, almost earthy peppermint flavor. It's so good. I think it's the Three Twins ice cream. I think it's them that do that. I always know it when I see it. I'm like, oh, that's the good one. It's so different. The mint is really different. Do we need to ease these sleeves? I hope so, but I'm gonna put my easing stitch in there. Oh wait, let's finish our. I just conveniently forget we're not done with this part. All right, so we just need to finish this little opening here, and I'm actually gonna stitch starting from the sleeve edge here. You could just hand sew it shut. And then it would just look like you put it on with magic. I'm all down for that. This one matches really well. It's the other one I'm having some easing issues with. Now, because this is rayon, I'm just going to stop there. Maybe if this were like a cotton knit, or knit, not knit, just cotton, I might stitch all the way around the tie. I feel like it's a little overkill with rayon. I don't know where this thread's coming from, so it's gone. Yeah, right, Brooke? All right, so there we go. There's our sleeve, you know. Oh, it feels small. That feels better. So let's see, let's tie it. I think you could make these ties a little bigger, longer, and thinner for a different look. You know? Pretty cute though. Oh, yeah, that's true, Rachel. Right? Oh yeah, they're a Northern California ice cream company. Shorter is sportier. All right, where's my other one? Where's my problem one? Here's my problem one. How are we gonna solve that? So I think I'm gonna ease it. Some folks might think that might be a little too much to ease, but because this sleeve is gonna be cinched and blousey, I think it's gonna be fine. So where does prima donna potty? Well, I did want to say the obvious, but he potties outside, but he will poop in the house occasionally. And I feel like it's more out of a like, oh no, it's happening. You know, like it kind of comes upon him, you know. But at the same time, I'm like, we were just out there. You didn't have like an inkling, like, come on, you know. And when we go on walks, like Molly, she'll like poo 3 times. For the longest time when we took him on walks, he wouldn't go to the bathroom at all. All right, so when I get, this is where the opening is. When I get up to there, that's when I start the easing. See if I can get it to look pretty good. It's not that bad, honestly. I just don't want any tucks. There we go. That's not bad. It's not ideal. I didn't do a very good job when I first started sewing it of lining up where I was at from side to side. Yeah, right, exactly, Brooke. I'm not really worried about it, but... And this also is on the underarm. So there's that, you know? What the heck is that, though? What the heck? Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't look so good. I mean, no one's going to see that, but I don't really like that. I have a little bit of a tuck right there. Right, Nancy, I know. I think it's knowing when to let go and what is going to bug you. I think it's all your preference, you know? I definitely try not to feel the added pressure of people thinking, but you, me, should know better. You knew I would take it out, Karen? I know. You saw that look, didn't you? Because I've definitely felt that before where I feel like people are going to be like, well, you know, that's okay if this person lets that go, but you shouldn't, like meaning me, I shouldn't. But I don't feel that way myself. Like, it's my garment, you know? And I think everyone should feel that way about their garment. Like, we're not being paid to do this, right? It's ours. So, and you just got to pick your battles, you know? It's like, what hill do you want to die on? That type of thing. So what's happening is that even the inside is a little, you know. Now, there's a few ways you could fix this. I should probably mention that. You could take it out and try and set it on a little better, even if you just took out a little bit of it and did it, you know. You could even put an easing stitch in on this, like right along that. I think that would be more trouble than it's worth. The other thing that'd be more involved is you could take out this section right here on both sides and let out the sleeve or take in the sleeve a little bit. Hi, Katie. You know? So it really is like what you're willing to deal with. This is quite a bit to ease. It doesn't really bug me too much on the outside because if the print is a little busy, it's on the inside of my garment. It's my garment. I didn't pull last time, so maybe I'll try and stretch it a little bit. But, you know, I don't like to distort it either. So this looks pretty good on the outside to me. It's not as nice as the other one. On the inside, it's meh. This wouldn't bug me. This isn't something like, there's a few things where I've later on noticed after streaming, I'm like, you know what, I don't like that, and I fix it. And I usually mention to you guys what I do. Right, Nancy? Exactly. Could you do elastic versus having tie all the time? I think you could tie this and leave it. Megan, let's see. I don't think it like is too tight, you know, like I think I could get my arm through this, but you might want to iron it and then tie it each time. So it's kind of a close sleeve. Press it out. There you go, Lisa. Nobody will see that. And it's on the underarm, you guys. It's on the underarm. So before you sit there and, you know, cry at 11:30 at night when you're alone in your sewing room sewing that project you need to finish by the next day because you're leaving on a trip, take a deep breath. Tell yourself, what would your friend say to you in that moment? What would your friend say? She'd be like, it's in the underarm. No one's going to see that. I don't see it very much. The print's kind of busy, right? So be nice to yourselves, especially at 11:30 at night when you need to leave at 4 in the morning for your trip, okay? We love you. We care for you. Okay, so let's stuff these sleeves in. I really hope there's some ease in the sleeve, but it's feeling like there might not be. And you can always fix it later, you know? I feel like everything I sew here is kind of a work in progress. But you know, now I feel like I have like some of the things I've made are, not all the things I've made, but some of the things I've made are at the point where I like them so much as a piece of clothing in my closet that when they start to show signs of wear or something goes on with it, I fix it. And I feel like, you know, it'd be great if all of us were more focused on fixing our clothes rather than donating them or tossing them, right? But let's face it, some of our clothes aren't really worth that, right? So I'm trying to make clothes that are going to last, you know, longer, mendable, whatever. But sometimes I just change it, like, okay, this isn't fitting me as well. You know, I've gained some weight this year. I can't even wear this thing. And how can I modify it so that I can wear it now, you know? I really could have made this a 2-part stream, huh? After this, all I have is the waist tie. You know, I should probably check to see if there's even ease in the sleeve before I sit here and add gathers. I just do it instinctually. So let's see, this is my front sleeve. All right, this is my front sleeve. I just turned this the wrong way, but that's okay. I'm just gonna put it in here and see. Walk it around. See if there's some ease. I'll know when I get to the, oh yeah, it looks like there might be a little bit more on the back than the front. Night Malin! Yeah, washing it might help actually. It's like knitting, they always say that'll block right out. It's true. Wearing it a bit and then yeah, well maybe oh yeah, you're not going to be here this Saturday, that's right. We'll see you next week. I'll probably do some fall type, like maybe either the toaster sweater or the zip neck tee. Anyone make the toaster sweater before? I didn't find them ask them what view they want me to make. All right, let's distribute a little of this. All right, I'm gonna put the sleeve in with French seams. So that's why I realized I didn't need to turn, I'm just used to turning my sleeve inside out to put, or my garment inside out to put the sleeve on. But when you're doing the French seam, you're gonna start the other way. All right, here's this funny little, I'm gonna press my seams towards the back. Sometimes I stagger my seams there because of the bulk. The rayon's not too bulky. Does it, Karen? That's awesome. Front. I'm just double checking front and back. Yep. Because especially, like, you know, if you put your front sleeve to your back sleeve in some cases, it's not that big of a deal. It'll feel a little different. It might sew in a little different. But with the tie, you probably, especially because we kind of canted it a little bit to be front and back, you kind of want to have it lined up. The tie is in the middle though, so you don't have to worry about it too much. I'm doing all my little anchor points here. I do my underarm and the shoulder, and then I just kind of look at the in-between. And I'm going to try and sew this with a little less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I know a lot of folks get a little nervous when they set in sleeves, but if you add that little basting stitch between your notches, draw it up a little bit so that it's tighter but not gathered, it should be really, really easy. A lot easier. Oh yeah, Lisa, okay. I like the view. I like both views. they're really different from each other. Like the silhouette is the same, but one kind of looks like a smooth, you know, mock turtleneck. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. See how this is the back. You want all the ease to go between the notches, mostly up on that cap. Remember, you're trying to add gush for your arm. You need this depth of your arm right here. That's what all that ease is for. It's this depth right here, right? So it's kind of interesting that when you line up the notch to the shoulder seam, more of the gathers are a little bit towards the back. So it's just something to note. You know, when you put on a set-in sleeve and you have a French seam and you're sewing in the seam allowance of this gathered area, you might get some tucks, and that's okay because that is not your final seam. And you just asked it to do that. You just asked it to kind of ruffle like that. I think my seam allowance was just too shallow right there at the shoulder seam. I have to go back and check that. So see, this is drawn up. It's tight right here along this thread. This is ruffly right here. I don't have any tucks though. No gathers yet. I don't want any. You want it to be smooth. Where was that spot with the narrow seam allowance? Right here. That's my gather stitch, so this is my seam. That's why it's just a little too narrow right here. So I'm just gonna correct that. It kind of dipped down in between. Yeah, okay, Lisa, yeah. Oh, you meant to tell you guys that Hearts is having a store-wide fabric sale right now. Everything's 15% off. That'll definitely cover your shipping. All right, so then we have our seam allowance. So definitely want to trim all these little hairs. Give it a little bit of a haircut. Everyone needs a little trim from time to time. Just don't cut your garment. I like to try and leave my basting stitch able to be pulled out later, but we'll see. You can see the little frays of these little edges happen more in some areas of your sleeve than others because of where the grain line changes. So the straight of grain areas and cross grain areas are going to be a little furrier. Whereas like the diagonal and bias areas aren't as much. Okay. So putting in another one in here, and then we'll iron them and then we'll put them in. Okay. Pull a little bit from each side. This is probably plenty for one. And so see that? It's taut. It's ruffling on either side, but it's not, it doesn't have gathers. Just make sure you pull from the same side of the piece, like the top or the bottom, you know? Till the 27th, that's what it is. Yeah, thanks, Megan. Today's the 26th, though. So that's tomorrow. The Rain Shed, Lisa, they are retiring and they are, all their stuff was 30% off. I don't know what their stock is like because that was a few weeks ago that they started, but they have like traditional outdoor type fleeces. They have a good quality stuff though. But if you're looking for like cotton sweatshirt fleece, they're not my go-to place. They may have some, but they don't focus on that. They focus mostly on outdoor stuff. And that website's The Rain Shed. They're in Oregon. All right. This is my back. That's my back. Yeah. Putting a pin there and at my shoulder. Okay, the sleeve with the ties is like a little bulky. All right, there we go. That's my back. That's my back, yeah. All right. So wrong sides together with the French seam. Oh, really, Lisa? Yeah, I can't believe they're retiring. I mean, I'm good for them, right? Another company I really like, not that I'm endorsed by them or anything, is called Queen Bee Creations. They're a Portland-based company, and they make bags and things out of like fake leather and canvases. So they're vegan. That's not their, I don't know, their ethics of why they do that. I'm sure it's intentional. But her quality is incredible, and she appliques like a leaf motif on, you know, black fake leather. Everything I have from them is bomb proof and amazingly sewn. And she's retiring too. She I think she's been doing it for like 25 years. She's probably about my age too. Like, she's stuck with it. Really successful, really great stuff, all kinds of bags, and they're sewing through the end of the year, so she just she's been preparing for it. It's really cool. I have a rainbow purse from them that I got this summer, and I've gotten bike panniers for my bicycle from her. Really nice stuff. Queen Bee Creations. Really like, and I just love supporting another small factory, and I've actually visited it because her storefront, you can see the whole sewing and cutting room is behind it, like right there in the open. It's pretty cool. She hand prints on fabric, and she has for a long time, but also there's all the I don't think it's pleather, right? But anyway, I'm kind of always behind on all the like news and stuff, but I did see that, and I was like, oh, I don't think I need anything. But it is kind of sad that they're going, but good for her, right? All right. Just trimming this down best I can here. Don't want all your little fibers to poke through your seam. Yeah, these little scissors are not ideal. Like, I could do this in a little nicer way, you know? Yeah, her printing table is really cool, Brooke. It's like all the ink on it. Yeah. Oh, really, Megan? Yeah. All right, let me iron these. We're getting a shirt. Oops, there goes my pattern. All right. I often don't press the sleeve of the French seam. It's just it's so awkward. I mean, you know, yeah, the proper thing right now is doing what I'm doing, pressing it, right? But it's awkward. It's awkward for me too, you know? And sometimes I'm just like, you know, like anybody, I just want to keep going. But it does make it a lot easier to finish it when you do press your French seam both ways, you know? This one kind of wants to do it though, so it doesn't seem as critical. Really, Megan? Why? I don't think of Vera Bradley when I think of Harry Potter. Now, if J.K. Rowling was coming out with, you know, a bag. I have some threads there. Actually, I'll just do this. I saw that Mina Lima, you know, Mina Lima is really behind all the like visual creative stuff. That was for the movies and all the props and everything. And they came out with wallpapers. I think Brooke showed me. I was like, oh, I forgot. I need to refollow them. Now that I started the So account. You're the lady that had Jenga Boots retired? Pshaw. I'm never retiring. I wish. No, I don't wish, actually. I think about it. Like, lately I'm like, maybe I should just do this somehow. Do it in my house, you know? Just stream with you guys occasionally. I need a mission, though. I'm one of those people. And it's not keeping my house clean. That definitely isn't my kind of mission. I just try and keep it picked up. Is that okay if you guys come over? My house is just picked up. Is that enough for you? And I'll sweep. The deal. I was thinking that I'd like to like meet people though, like meet you guys. I think I might ask Hearts if I can come and like hang out one day and meet people there. Probably need to go to the UK and meet, you know, Louise, and all of you guys over there can meet in the UK, right? Brooke's gonna be my travel assistant. No, I'll be her travel assistant. She can keep me on track. Do you have Disney, really? Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay. I think I'm going to skip the first one, step on this one and do this one. Because see how it wants to stay on this edge already. This is always the part of the stream where I start getting kind of antsy. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys have been sitting here way too long watching me do this. But we still have the tie. I could always finish the tie on Saturday. I always wonder if someone like goes, oh, they stumble upon my YouTube page and they're like, oh, I have that garment I need to make. Maybe I'll watch this video. And then they just look to see how long it is and they're like, oh my gosh, that garment's going to take me 3 hours to make. Forget it. Oh, that'd be cool, Brooke. She's coming in October. Yeah, you need to come for the chocolate mint ice cream. We'll go out for ice cream, Eileen. Always. There's actually a good ice cream there. It's called, I think it's called Santa Cruz Creamery. I don't think they make the ice cream though. I think that's like just a mislabeled thing. My pressing of this is not going well. I think I'm wrong about saying it just wants to be on this edge. Ah, Brooke, that's a good trade-off. Are you gonna miss Rhinebeck, Brooke? I never went. I wanted a donut. That's about all I wanted. Oh, you finished them, Barbara? Nice! How they look. Yeah, but not the traveling part. Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. You have sewing machine patterns, I travel. I would like to meet people, but then I was like, well, how would I set that up? Like, it's not like I could call fabric stores and be like, hi, hi, I'm wondering, can I have a meet and greet at your store? And they'd be like, who are you? Did I just run out of bobbin thread? All right, so now I'm doing my second pass, and I'm just making sure, hopefully, I am enclosing that raw edge. But you'll see, like, I am a little closer. My seam allowance is a little bit off, right? Yeah, right, Barbara. I know it is a little kind of, that hem is epic, but it's not that bad. But it can be a little torquey. I totally agree. So my seam allowance is not as accurate as on that 1/2 inch as probably it could have been. You know, but I didn't put my basting stitch on the 1/2 inch mark, so maybe it's closer than I think. And it is kind of better to put that basting stitch as close to the seam allowance as possible so you can kind of stay close to that edge. That's okay. It's in there. It's smooth, right? So look, I have no tucks. And then you'll have a, you know, it'll push to the sleeve. There's some of my fibers though. Look at that. I missed those. Don't just pull them. You might pull it and it'll run the fabric, and then the print will be off a little bit. You've been tweeting? Uh-oh. Okay, there's one. Oh, here's my basting stitch. Oh, there's some of my raw edge right there. I'll have to pull that. Okay, I love pulling out the basting stitch. It's so satisfying. And then I just broke. Dang it. Come on. Give it back to me. Give it back to me. I want it. Sometimes I'm really good about making sure I keep it, the little tail of the basting stitch on the outside, so I can grab it really easily. There we go. Can I grab it? Can I grab it? Oh, I don't want to lose it. There it is. Ooh, I don't think I got it. It's kind of, oh, there we go. Ah, yay. And so then I should be able to see the other side. There it is. Just releases it all. All right, let's do our other one. You can also, you know, pin all this when you're going to sew. It'll, if you feel comfortable using pins, then pin it too. But on this pass, I don't really think it's necessary because you've already sewn it. I almost think French seams for a set-in sleeve are easier than non-French seams for the set-in sleeve. And then the reason is because even though it feels a little awkward to be stitching over parts of your sleeve and getting some of the tucks on that first one, when you go to the second one, it's all stitched down. You know, it's already being held. That's like the best pins ever when you think about it, right? So, yeah, Barbara, I know, huh? I've been kind of looking at Twitter a lot because my favorite game came out with a sequel. And they announced it this week, and they're just announcing all this kind of fun stuff around it. And new trailer. And people have been waiting for years for this game. So, I'm pretty excited, you know. All right, so this is not the side I pulled. I don't know if it's sticking out on this side. Let's hope. Let's hope. There it is. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. Oh, dang. I didn't get my satisfaction of pulling it. Hey, Michelle. The Last of Us 2. Michelle, did you see I made an affiliate and I have a subscribe button now? Yeah, The Last of Us 2 has a date now, Michelle. It's February 21st. I've been waiting. And there's a whole new gameplay trailer. It looks hard and scary. You marked your calendar? I know, I pre-ordered it. I almost just threw this on. Let's see. Pretty cool. pretty cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that game, man. And then next month, it's free in the PlayStation Store. The current one. Thanks! Yeah, I know, it's pretty exciting. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to do our tie. I didn't taper this tie, and I'd like to. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm also going to kind of pin this so that I can minimize torquing. So it's going to pin this in these spots. Like, see, I know this goes there because that's where the seam is. Look at that. Did I burn that? What is that? Ooh, that doesn't look good. I've been trying to figure out why my fabric looks kind of like dingy. And sometimes I'll see like a little silhouette. The Last of Us, Megan. The first one's out. That one's not, that one is explicit. In language and in gore and in violence. But it's got an amazing story. It's like post-apocalyptic, and this guy has to escort a little girl through this world to safety. It's like a virus that's gone wrong and turned people into basically their version of zombies. You know, everything's a zombie. So, amazing story. It's really beautifully written, really touching. So, like, definitely I cried in that game. And, it came out, I'm really late to that game. It came out in 2013. So it's been out, and it's free in the PlayStation Store next month. Then you get to keep it forever. So it's, yeah, Michelle's she says, I cried too, and such a good story. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's got a huge fan base. I even saw The Onion did a story on it today, or yesterday maybe. It was pretty funny. So it's called The Last of Us. Didn't you play it again on the unlocked mode? On grounded. I played it on the hardest difficulty. Yeah, I got the platinum for it. I've almost double platinumed. You don't play G-rated games. I just know you had a kiddo, and you know, if you're doing the Plants vs. Zombies thing, that could be kiddo, more kiddo, you know. So yeah, I'm thinking about finishing my other platinum. All I need to do is half the multiplayer still. And next month, when it's like free, there'll be beginners in there, and I might have a chance of doing well. Isn't that terrible? But, you know. Okay, so you can see like the side that's interface is a little tighter. See how I have this little bit of looseness? Yeah, so it's part of it. I'm just folding it in half to kind of keep it in track. And I'm going to put some guides as far as the for the sewing. And let's just trim off a little bit, right? I know, I want to play it again too. I might stream that one just for a couple of friends, because they just don't get it. And it's hard. You don't have to play it on the hard difficulties. I just feel like that's how it was meant to be. Like if you were really in that world, it would be hard, you know? I'm just willy-nilly doing this. Sorry, just look away. Don't look. We're all friends here, yeah. Exactly. All right. I'm going to pin this here, try and get them symmetrical. Maybe straighten that other one I just did. A little nicer, huh? All right. The things we do at our sewing machine. Oh my gosh, Megan. I've told you guys about that game. Like, that's definitely, I'm definitely a fangirl for that game. Like, if you ever saw my PlayStation like profile, there's a little bit of that. Like, my avatar is that game, you know, like I love it. And I think I've told you guys, like, that was my first kind of single player game, except for Senua's Sacrifice, which is a beautiful game with all this like Celtic lore and kind of a amazing story as well. And got all this awards for mental health awareness. Really cool game. And my friends were like, yeah, you're gonna love this, Jeremy. I was like, okay. And so I went to play it, and I was like, I'm terrified in this game. And they're like, you'll get the hang of it. It's gonna be okay. And then I got to this point where I was in this hotel basement. I know Michelle's like, I know exactly where you are. It is only on PlayStation 4. It's an exclusive. I don't think that's very common. I didn't know that, but oh wait, we're gonna put some guides in here. So I'm just gonna put some guides like this. So I was in this hotel basement and I was stuck and scared, and so I stopped playing it. And my friend asked me, how's it going? And I was like, oh, I haven't opened it for like 2 weeks. I'm totally afraid. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, where are you stuck? And I told him. He's like, oh, yeah, I know. That part's kind of scary. He's like, and then like one night he said, we're gonna get through this. I'm gonna help you get past this. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I think this is too gory. I don't like gory and scary stuff, really. I was like, I don't know. But I also have an issue with like leaving books where the protagonist is in trouble. So like knowing that the protagonist was in trouble in that game was a little bit stressful for me. Like I hated leaving him there, you know? So he's like, come on, Sammy, we're going to do this. And so there's a way on PlayStation where you can share play. And so they can see your screen. And then you can even give the controller to them in a way, figuratively, and they can play as you if you want. And so that's why he was like, I'll help you. And he, so I hadn't opened that game for like 2 or 3 weeks. This never has happened to me in the game, and it hasn't happened to me since. But when I spawned into the game and opened it, the scary thing was standing right there. And that's not how that scene works. That you're supposed to like spawn in a certain location, then you go to do it, right? I don't know why the game did that to me. It's the only time it's ever did it to me. And I played it like 12 times through. I startled so bad. I was like, and I threw the controller in the air, which ripped the headphones off my head and flew them across the room. And my friend, he's like watching me, and then I die in the game or whatever. And I can hear as I go over to get my headphones, he's like, Jeremy? I was like, yeah, I'm here. And he was like, did you just rip the headphones off? Like, did you just throw the controller? And I was like, no. I guess I startled myself so bad I threw. He was like, oh my God. Like, it's just not that scary for those folks. They've played a lot more games than I have, and I haven't, So I am happy to tell you I made it through that part, and now I have tactics where I can get through it. I still get a little sweaty. I'm not going to lie. But I have tactics where I don't even have to engage in those scary things. I just, I have ways to get around them now. Yeah, you know what I mean, Michelle. I'm keeping this pinned in half. I think I don't know why I'm doing this. It's because I'm talking too much. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to keep this just kind of, I want it to not torque, right? But doing it this way may also make me accidentally catch it. So this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to sew this wrong side to right side. Yeah, right, Michelle? Michelle understands. There's a couple parts in that game where I'm like, oh, but it feels so good to triumph, and you're like, I did it. That feels so good to me. And I think that's partly why I like that game. That game made me feel more confident, All right, so I'm pinning it at the center. I think this is the center between the two. Yeah, so this is this little section I added because I didn't have enough fabric. That's the center of my tie. And now, I need to figure out also, you guys, if I'm going to add gathers to this. So this is my scientific way of doing this. Ouch. So I kind of want it to be right there. So I'm going to make sure that all of my shirt fits between these 2 points. So if the shirt's wider than this, God, doesn't it feel like this is bigger than the shirt? We'll use red pins for this right here. Sometimes I'm doing some pattern drafting at the table, you guys. This is how it is. All right, let's hold it up. Worst case scenario, my tie doesn't work out, I just hem it. Right, Lisa? Exactly. I know, it's just like, whew. And it's so funny because occasionally my husband would walk in while I'm playing that game and he'd be like, what are you playing? Like, it just looks so... I'm like, I'm really a good person. I'm trying to survive, you know? Don't judge me. All right. So, let's see. I love that sound. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, so we have a little bit of gathering to do. Not much. Not much at all. See that? There's my red pin. So we're just going to, I'm just going to gather a little bit across the front. Just kind of like what I do with the sleeves. Like that, and then across the back a little bit, you know? Oh, that's awesome, Claire. Yeah, right? I would love to go back to the UK. I can't believe how scary Minecraft is. You know? Like, come on. No one ever told me Minecraft was scary. I feel like I want my money back for a free game. Oh no, I did pay for that game, never mind. I'm just gonna put a little bit right here and then a little bit right here. You know? We're just trying to take up like a couple inches on each side. I think it'll be nicer if you put actual gathers in there. Like that. Why is this so tight? It's not looking very good. You could even do it like the sleeve, right? Like this. You could just ease it in there. Like gather it, like just by not gathering it, tighten it up, but get rid of all the tucks and just distribute it like that. That might be nice too. Let's try that. Yeah, it is, Eileen. The Cantha fabric, yeah. Megan, you crack me up, man. When you're playing it, it's different. Watching it is different. Yeah, it's a dress, Eileen. It's the willow tank dress. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. The sounds are scarier in the headphones. Exactly. Yeah, when I watched that, like, Michelle's probably left. She probably went to watch that game trailer. It looks hard. The next one looks harder and scarier. You're here? Okay. I thought you were like, oh, I'm out of here. I'm going to go watch that. You saw it yesterday, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Uh-oh, I'm getting a tickle. Ooh, I may have to wait till Saturday to finish this, you guys. My throat's getting so dry. Do you guys mind? I'm talking so much. I'll just finish this tie on Saturday. Yeah, take a break. It's our last little bit, and then we'll hang out and sew together. I'm going to do the pin cushion maybe, or the noodle head backpack. Right, exactly, Megan. I've heard that too. Oh, yeah, that patchwork form is really cool, Barbara. I have almost made pants out of that. It's cute. The blue one, that's patchwork. Yeah, but this one, can you see the fabric? This is the selvage right here, by the way. That's why there's a little knot. I cut the skirt portion on the selvage, or on the cross grain, length grain. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get that tickle thing I got that time, right? That was so bad. But this is looking good, you guys. I just kind of want to finish it. I want to finish it. I'll finish it Saturday. Looking cute though. Here's the sleeve, the facing, bottom will have the tie on the side. It's starting to look like the picture. I feel like for years I would draw a picture and it wouldn't look like, my garment wouldn't look like the picture. You know what I mean? I finally turned that corner. It's great. All right, you guys. Well, then I will see you Saturday. I hope you'll join me. It's a real casual sew day like we did last Saturday, which was really fun. And I'll be working on a few things. I'll finish this first and maybe, I don't know if I'll get to that noodle head backpack, but maybe we could do that next Saturday. Or I could, I mean, unless you guys don't care about the cupcake pincushion. That went together really well. I'm going to start working on that pattern for you guys. So just let me know what you guys think. All right, I'm Sarami. This is So Live. And if you guys want to follow me, and you like what you see, please subscribe. We'd love to have you. If you ever want to chat, you just need to create a channel in YouTube. That's their name for an account. So thanks, you guys, for coming. Thanks for coming on Twitch as well. And I really appreciate it. It's great to have you guys here. Don't forget that Hearts is having a sale, 15% off everything in their store. Everything. So... or all fabrics. Maybe it's all fabrics. All right, guys. Yeah, you follow me. I know, Megan. All right, I will see you guys Saturday. Bye, Rachel, and all of your gals there. Bye, you guys. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I will see you soon.